Good morning, everyone, and thanks to everyone for coming along to this second session we've got today within the People of Tomorrow stream, where we're focusing on attracting, recruiting and retaining talent. The speaker we've got for this session is Jordan Pooler. Jordan's a colleague in Scottish Government and he's the Project Capabilities Officer at Scottish Government. I should at this point say, for anyone who isn't aware, I'm sure maybe in the first session this was gathered, but the Procurement People of Tomorrow is a Scotland-wide partnership programme that Jordan is involved in. It involves both the public and the private sector, and it aims to create our future procurement and commercial talent. We have a clear vision, it has a clear vision to leave a sustainable legacy for the procurement profession in Scotland by growing our own talent to address the industry-wide skills shortages.
Perfect. Cheers, Billy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well, the sort of overview of the Procurement People of Tomorrow programme, but I suppose I'm just going to go into it in a bit more detail, sort of where we've come from, what we've done, what we're doing just now, and then where we're going. And yeah, it's going to be a sort of whistle-stop tour of a fairly lengthy programme. But first of all, I'll give you a bit of information about myself. As Billy says, my job title is Project Capability Officer, which sounds, you know, slightly removed from procurement, but it's not. So I work in the Scottish Procurement and Property Directorate within the Scottish Government, within the Commercial and Project Capability team. So our team looks at capability as far as project management goes, but also as far as commercial capability goes. So there is a tie in there, and we also do sort of focus on the commercial engagement when discussing project management. So there is a tie in there. But yeah, before joining the Scottish Government, I think I've been in, I think it's 20 months actually, which is an odd way of describing it. But yeah, 20 months in the Scottish Government. Before that, I was at university studying international business management, and then here I am. So yeah, fairly fresh to things. And since joining the Scottish Government, I've been involved as sort of leading up the work stream on Procurement People of Tomorrow, which was started back in, I think, 2012 by Nicky Archer, who is on the call, and you may have heard from earlier. So I think that's a bit of an overview of me. Change slide. Yeah, so why PPOT? Essentially, there was a recognised skill gap in both private and public sector, where essentially there was a massive gap, sort of middle management area, where, you know, leadership and specialists within procurement were, you know, near retirement age, and it looked like there was going to be an issue with backfilling those spots. So the succession plan wasn't in a great place. So this is where PPOT came about. Or this is one of the reasons PPOT came about, to try and nurture that procurement profession and bring people in and sort of build those succession plans, build those routes up to the leadership and specialist level from a young age, or to a young age, you know, school leavers and education leavers. So yeah, succession planning an issue, and then again, which adds to it, is the history of challenges attracting, recruiting and retaining talent. I know when I was growing up, and funnily enough, my dad actually worked in Scottish procurement, but when I was growing up, procurement wasn't a word that I could have given you the definition to. It was just this obscure thing that my dad did, and it was, you know, I didn't really quite understand it until I went to university. And then even at university studying international business management, there was not a massive focus on it. And, you know, you typically look at marketing and HR and all these different things, but then you realize, you know, actually getting into procurement and learn a bit more about it, that it's massive, and the effects that it can have on business and the importance of it. So yeah, so that's a bit anecdotal, but the idea is that not many people sort of grow up wanting to be a procurement professional, because people aren't informed about it. And, you know, although we do procurement in everyday life, people are, yeah, they're a bit removed from it, and it's a bit of a fancy word. So yeah, so that was another part of it, and try to make the profession a bit more sexy, or make it seem a bit more sexy. So yes, so from this, I had an opportunity to work together to grow our own talent. This is a big part of the program, is sort of, as I say, nurturing talent, support youth employment. Again, it's, you know, there's a massive amount of jobs within procurement, so there's a real opportunity there to sort of recruit, you know, value added recruitments, you know, modern apprenticeships that, you know, you're getting in quality candidates, but you're also developing people within society. So, and raise the profile of procurement and supply chain by the profession for the profession. That's a great quote. Anyway, so that's why PPOT. I think we can also, it resonates with it all, why there's a need for it, and the encouragement of it. So transformation journey here. Yes. So this is a fairly, it's a fairly busy slide, but the idea is that, let me just change my slides. So we had a vision, and the vision is procurement will be a career choice. And the result of our mission, result of our vision would be our mission, is to leave a sustainable legacy in Scotland for procurement profession. Really sort of fill up that skills gap and make sure there's a steady stream of quality candidates and quality talent moving through the procurement profession, which is good for everyone. And aim, how do we meet the mission, is these items here, embed it in careers advice and guidance and greater awareness procurement, etc., etc. So this is the way that we meet our mission. And then our aspirations from, if we meet these aims, our aspirations that are, hopefully, we get a thriving PPOT community, a business as usual entry schemes, the things we talk about. Oh, it's just stopped sharing. There we go. And yeah, we have all these great things that come out of developing the PPOT profession. My Teams has gone a bit skew. Can everyone still see it? I'm hoping they can. I'll continue off that basis, but if not, just shout at me in the chat. Perfect. So that's the sort of transformation journey there. And we'll go into a bit of detail about the different phases and the journey that we'll be on here. So phase 1, 2012 to 2014, this is the very start of it, which Nicky will be most familiar with. Create pathways into the profession. So the pathways that we're talking about are modern apprenticeships, and this is where PPOT worked with Skills Development Scotland and different accrediting organisations to develop the modern apprenticeship in supply chain and procurement. So that was a massive stage because, once we get that sorted and get that organised, then you're able to bring people in on these value-added recruitments, which has been really useful, and we've made use of it, and it's a very common and very successful way of bringing people into the organisation from a base level. Not much experience is required, so it's a good way to start. We also developed HND in procurement and supply chain, which is another way that you can add that sort of procurement expertise to people, and through higher education, which was potentially removed in previous years. And then phase 2, 2015 to 2016, is creating a pipeline and nurture the PPOT community. So yeah, this is where we first had our first visibility at ProcureX. And for those of you who aren't familiar with ProcureX, it's the National Procurement Conference, and this is where we started showing our face and saying, this is our program, this is what we're out to do. Who wants to help? Who wants to get involved? Because it started sort of Scottish government based, but we have it's as Billy mentioned earlier, it's a private and public sector wide thing. It's a shared thing. It's all about by the profession for the profession, as it says. It's developing it together for a profession that we're all in. And yeah, and then organising placement and mentoring opportunities, which is a big part of things as well. We'll come on to placements a bit more later in the presentation. But yeah, this is the sort of the first 2 phases. I know there's a bit of information on that page, but feel free to digest and just listen to me, my monotone voice in the background. So perfect. So yes, 2016 to 2018. Embed a pipeline of placement opportunities and grow, support, and enable our PPOT community. So this is where we had a few different involvements. We had a negotiation challenge that we got involved with. And the sort of idea now is that we have a PPOT. We have 2 PPOT events a year, and one is often ProcureX. We'll either present or hold a stand, and the second one previously has been challenge-based negotiation challenges, where we team up with other procurement organisations and get young people, whether that be students or school students or university, college students, in to do sort of buying challenges. I think so. That's a good thing that we like to get involved with, and there's more stuff on that that'll come on to later, and where we're sort of developing that further and sort of getting case studies. So we're, after you get all these modern apprentices and these value-adding opportunities, whether it's placements, internships, all these different things, it's about capturing those learnings and capturing the value in it, so that you can then showcase it and say, okay, no, it's not that scary to bring someone in from the bare minimum, modern apprenticeship level. That there's a lot of value to be brought out of it, and this is how well it's gone in these situations. So big bit on case study. But yeah, as you see there, there's other things, and I'm not going to mention everything on the slide, but yeah, this is it. So phase 4, 2018 to 2020. This is where I started. So I think I joined in 2019. So there's a bit of crossover here when I'm a little bit more familiar with and was involved with. But yeah, so we have a suite of packs, and you'll see there's two there: the school pack and the HEFE pack, which is higher education, further education pack. And these two packs are sort of used to, I suppose, demystify the procurement profession for people who are in their either 5th or 6th year at school, looking to leave school, or final year of higher education, whether that's just coming out of college or your 3rd or 4th year in university. And the packs give a bit of a, well, they're obviously pitched at two different audiences. One's a little bit more sophisticated and with different similar but different opportunities as far as the HEFE goes. But these, yeah, they just demystify the procurement profession a bit. They talk about different skills you need in procurement, and then an interesting page. I think my favorite page is where it shows you, okay, so you're studying English in school. This is what it means. This is how you would use it in procurement, and it shows, okay, you studied or you're doing a marketing module. This is where it fits in, and it shows how how many different skills and different areas are actually weaved into the procurement profession. So yeah, the packs are really good, and if there's a way, I'd like to send them out after this because they're great for just demystifying it a bit and showing people the opportunities within procurement. That's modern apprenticeships or graduate apprenticeships or graduate routes and all these different things, or even the education routes. So yeah, really proud of those packs. They're really useful, and they're good to sort of give out to people and things like that. And we piloted our disabled interns route, and that's something that we do today. And we launched a pledge, which I'll come on to, but it's kind of what it says. But I'll come on to it with a bit more detail later on. Yes, and we continued our attendance and presentations at events. So I think it was 2 or 3 weeks into the job, right? You need to present at ProcureX. Okay, great. So you just sort of swatted up on procurement people tomorrow and give a presentation, but it's good. And everyone's often quite excited by it because it's like finally procurement's getting the recognition it deserves, and we're sort of demystifying it for people. I've used that word a lot, demystifying. Anyway, so this is sort of what's next and what's kind of going on at the moment. They've got a planning and scoping for the National PPOT entry scheme. I'll come on to that a bit later as well. But an interesting one is initiating socio-economic PPOT workstream. This is something that we're currently developing, but it's about that value-added recruitment. It's okay, so we want to get a modern apprentice in, okay, but let's see how we can do that to add most socio-economic value, if that makes sense. So if you're almost targeting areas which are perhaps struggling areas of Scotland, then you can provide value by, lifting people out of poverty and providing jobs and all these different things. So I think there's definitely a lot of value you can do from that value added recruitment, and not just perhaps the best candidate. Sometimes it's all about the best value that you can provide through that recruitment. So I think that's a really, really interesting area. The placement pack and the pledge, which I'll come on to. I think they're just next. So yes, so the placement pack. This is something that we're currently working on at the moment. It should be getting launched in the next month or two, and it's come about because of but it's been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, where there seems to be a real, I suppose, a real focus on young people coming out of school or coming out of education and struggling for work experience when they're looking to get jobs, because other people have been displaced from their jobs, and we anticipate this will happen. So typically, there's a lot more competition in the job market. So it's about giving school students that sort of leg up, if you like, give them that little bit of work experience, relevant work experience, importantly, through placements. And that's great. That's just placements as a whole. But then what does the placement pack do? One, it adds value to a placement. Sometimes placements can be seen as just, I don't know, blah blahs from accountants' sons coming in for a few days and they stand around. It can feel a bit awkward. It can feel a bit of a burden sometimes, because you kind of need to get on with your work, and you give them shorter tasks like, I don't know, printing. That's extremely stereotyped there. But that idea of the burden, and it's no value for the student, and it's not much fun for the person hosting the student either. So this placement pack looks to add value to the student's placement and also make it easier for the person hosting the placement to sort of leave it up to the student and provide value whilst not feeling bad, I suppose, and getting on with some work. So I suppose there's that two-way thing of making it easier but also providing more value. To do that, we've got it's based around a 5-day week. So for each day, we've got a different challenge where the student is given a piece of a brief, if you like, where it has to go, the student has to go and then research on their computer and develop a response to the challenge, and then present it to the placement host at the end of the day. And I suppose that adds to the softer skills. You know, that's what we're looking for. Instead of just being given loads of stuff to read, it's about, okay, go and find your own stuff. Okay, what opinions do you have on this? How did you find about that? Even just, and then being able to communicate it, research, all these different, you know, problem solving, all these different softer skills that come with that that initiative that needs to be used from the challenge aspect. So that's what we've got. And you know, there's 5 different topics, five different days, and I think it is really good. I'm looking forward to getting it launched, and then we can hopefully get more placements done, more valuable placements as well. So that's the idea. Anyway. Next is the pledge, and this is something that people can get involved with, you know, whether it's just your team or your organization. It's exactly what it says. It's a pledge with a menu of options for, you know, how can you contribute to the PPOT sort of program. And as you can see, there's a few different ones here. A menu of commitments. And the updated one that we're going to be sending out has a back page of added support, and I think that's a focus for us, because we're not just going to say, oh, you said you do this, where is it? It's okay, let's help each other. You know, how can we help you? Do you need some case studies from how modern apprenticeship's gone, and all these different things, you know, setting people up with the right contacts. So there's a bit more support in the updated one, which will be getting launched soon, and we're going to do that through regular biannual check-ins. So yeah, looking forward to getting that launched. And also one new aspect we've got this year is the top pledgers element. So essentially, I may run a couple of minutes over time here, but the top pledgers is essentially, you know, the people who meet the most pledges or meet the most commitments. Then we'll pop them on the page on our PPOT website, and that's just to incentivize it a bit more, to really incentivize people and organizations to get that value-added recruitment. Perfect. So look out for that one. Now this is our transformation map. It's fairly busy, and it looks, you know, I think it looks good, but it just sort of goes over what we spoke about there, and about all the different things we're up to, and then how it sort of fits in timing, and the different sort of subheadings. Perfect. So how can you engage? Now there's lots of different ways. I suppose you know, struggling to understand, you know, the audience I'm talking to here, whether it's people that are, you know, learning procurement, or if it's people that are already, you know, dab hands in procurement and then in the industry, and looking to help. So I suppose for those people that are in the teams, then the pledge is a great way to help. You know, you can create a demand pipeline, actively support supply chains, community benefit clauses, encourage your industry or trade bodies to promote the PPOT initiative, just liking our stuff on LinkedIn, promoting the packs, things like that, and just getting in touch with us. Sponsor a school, you know, if it was a school you went to as a child, you know, visiting and talking them through procurement, then that's great. I think, you know, just engage with us and ask us, how can you help? And then for people who are perhaps new to it, then there's definitely other ways that you can engage, and that one way is through the PPOT working group, which is the group that we sort of head up, where there's a bunch of different people from different public sector organizations, and we comprise the working group, and we sort of strategize and go around that, and it's all people who are, you know, either ex or current graduates or modern apprentices, sort of thing. So here's a few awards, not awards, the awards is there, but this is a few stats. I'll probably just breeze by this, but really good is it's just that we're keeping track of who we're bringing in, how many we're bringing in, so that we can report on it. You know, I think one thing that my boss likes to say is, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, and that's a great saying, because if you don't measure it, it just won't get done. So I like to keep a measure of it. There's a few sort of snippets from the case studies here. A very colourful slide for sure. But yeah, the idea is that we're trying to draw the the knowledge and the value from each item and see what can we learn from it, where can we go forward, and then let's share those learnings. Yeah. Recognitions and achievements, here's the awards. Yes, so plenty of stuff in here. We had Apprentice Ambassador of the Year with Rachel Hughes, who used to head up the program. SIPS awards, Go awards, all these different things. So yeah, really pleased with how that's gone. And then here are 2 packs here, the schools pack and the Hefe pack. So almost at the end. This is the last slide, I promise. Yeah, so this is just sort of an idea of how it all sort of fits in, and also shows how sort of wide it is. So I'm pointing at the screen and none of you can see that, but never mind. So SRO, PPG sponsor is Nikki Archer, who you heard from earlier. Steering group is the PPD form. That's probably something to be left. And then, yeah, working group lead is myself. And within that working group, we've got people from Strathclyde University, Falkirk Council, a few from Scottish Procurement and Project Directorate, Forestry Land Scotland. Quite a healthy amount of people from NSS, NHS, and obviously they had some missed meetings over the last 12 months with some pretty important contracts. But yeah, and Historic Scotland and Skills Development Scotland as well. So yes, that was a whistle stop tour, as I say, and I'm more than happy to take questions. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, then please do. I'm more than happy to set up calls offline as well. Sorry, I went slightly over time there, Billy.
You're absolutely fine, Jordan. Thank you. Firstly, thank you very much for that, Jordan. It was really interesting. A lot of information for people to take on board. I thought it was particularly interesting to hear the phases, the journey you've been on in terms of Procurement People of Tomorrow to get to where we're at, and ultimately, as we can see from your last slide, that the awards and the recognition you're receiving, I think it's well deserved. It really is. I think for me, there's a couple of things. Having been in procurement for a fair number of years, and all practitioners know it isn't a dark art, but people don't know what they don't know. And to use your language, we need to continually demystify that. There's a continual requirement to do that. So I think what you're doing obviously helps with all of that. I think the packs you've got available, really valuable. People should know about them and where to get them. What I was really encouraged by also was how you described, how you think out what will be good for those people that are taking up placements to make it really worthwhile and meaningful for them. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that. So thank you for that, Jordan. Thanks for the presentation, the effort you put into it. Probably just got a few minutes now for some questions. I'm going to look at I know we've got a few on the chat that we can come to, but I'll ask Jackie or Laura, am I missing any hands? Are there any hands up, Jackie or Laura? I don't see any.
No hands up, just your own.
Just mine. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I will try and take that down. So that's my hand down. Couple of questions on the chat for you, Jordan. I'll start off with one which hopefully is something you can pick up on. Obviously you've won a number of, received some recognition for it, but how do you measure the success of Procurement People of Tomorrow? That's from my colleague in Scotland Excel that's asking that.
Yep. So it's a good question, and it's measuring things are always is a bit tough. And as I go back to what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Is it very important side of things? The way that we measure at the moment, we have a tracker for modern apprenticeships, all these value-add recruitments, and we have them, and we track where people go from that. We measure the amount that we're bringing in. So if we're bringing in the modern apprenticeships, we want to know the amount of people we're bringing in compared to last year, and we look to keep that improving. And I suppose that's the way that we determine are we bringing more value-added recruitments into the Scottish public sector or even the private sector. But yeah, we work closely with Skills Development Scotland to have the report on the modern apprenticeships, and then there's also internships, placements, graduate apprenticeships, graduate entry roles, all these different things that we track to sort of get a gauge on where we are and how many people we're bringing in, and we look to keep that number on the rise. And I suppose that's the way we measure it. Yeah,
Okay.
I hope that answers the question. But
No, I'm sure it does. Thank you, Jordan. I've got one other question here that I would probably like to put to you, and I might have a specific interest in this when you hear this question. So it's looking at things from the other side. So obviously, you know, great work a colleague here has pointed out in terms of getting young people involved in procurement. But how are we looking at how best do you encourage older people with specific category knowledge into the procurement family?
so that's an interesting question. Can you repeat it, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. So this is looking, obviously, you know, a lot of the presentation where we're clear there's a focus on younger folks coming into the procurement family.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, you know, as we all know, there's probably a lot of older people there who have great knowledge, sometimes very specific category knowledge. Is there anything we're doing there within Procurement People of Tomorrow to encourage those people to come into the procurement family?
I can't say that there's anything specific towards that area of things, but it's certainly something that's worth looking into. Yeah, I say typically, you know, without modern apprenticeships being, or you know, these value-added recruitments being sort of discriminatory to age or to, you know, anything like that, it does tend to have that younger focus just because that's people who tend to be, you know, just starting out their careers, about kickstarting that career. But as far as people that have specific knowledge or, you know, experienced professionals, then not so much for getting into profession, I'd say. But yeah, it's certainly something that's worth looking into. And I'll definitely take note of that and go away with it. Might be worth catching up offline.
No, that's fine, John. I'm also seeing some of the chat there, some responses about encouraging career changing, and I'm sure that's part of PPOT as well. So that's fine.
The phrase that Nikki likes to use, and I like to use it as well, is the career tree. And I think I'll bring it back a bit. We talk about this career tree because it's not just a ladder. You know, you move the ladder. It's about a tree. It's about moving on different areas and expanding that knowledge in different areas of procurement, or maybe even outside of procurement, and really getting that sort of rounded knowledge. And that's where the career tree comes in. So yeah, definitely, diverse knowledge is always beneficial to any team, I think.
Thanks, Jordan. So I'm conscious we're just about bang on time for ending this session, Jordan and folks. So what I'm just like to finish up with is obviously to again express thanks to Jordan for all his input and all the effort in preparing that and delivering that presentation. Thank you for that, Jordan. I think there was a message in one of your slides there which was quite clear to the audience about, you know, how folks can engage. So I'm sure Jordan would like to hear from the PPO team, and Jordan in particular would like to hear from you if there is anything you think you can do to engage. That would be great. It just leaves me then just to finish off by saying that our next session for today is around contract supply management fundamentals, and that will start at 11:45. So I hope I haven't missed anything, folks. I hope you enjoyed that session. I know I found it interesting and informative. Thank you very much, folks.